The Singularity is a Dead by Daylight killer who was released in June 2023, which was not that long ago. He is a 4.6 movement speed killer with a 32 meter tear radius. Singularity has a base of 8 biopods which you can place around the map on walls. You can interact with these biopods to have a 360 view through them, like a deployable camera. Aiming at a survivor with the biopods within 20 meters will start to fill up a meter. When full, it will slipstream a survivor, leaving a little pod attached to their back, which can spread a survivor's group up. Using his biopod or biopod shooter on a slipstream survivor will allow the killer to teleport to them to go into overclock mode. In overclock mode, your speed pallet breaking, wall breaking, and vaulting is significantly faster, and instead of being stunned by pallets, you are slowed and a pallet breaks immediately. These EMPs will shut down biopods for a limited amount of time and remove slipstream from survivors if within close proximity of the activated EMP. Not so bad, right? So it begs the question, why does he have such a low pick rate? According to Nightlight, in over 70,000 games, Singularity has a pick rate of under 1.5%. This is the 5th lowest pick rate in the game. But what really surprised me is if you look at the kill rates, Singularity has the lowest kills per game with only 47%, even below Billy. So does this mean the Singularity's bad? Well, no, not really, but he does have some issues that stop people from playing him. EMPs can be very annoying to deal with. The anti-camp part of his power is total BS, especially when you just simply look through a biopod to check a general area before leaving. Some walls have weird spots you can't place your biopods on, making it feel really inconsistent at times. Overall, he is very difficult to learn. I used to hate playing Singularity for these reasons, but I wanted to give him a chance and therefore put some time into learning him. Ever since, I very much enjoyed the killer. He's fast paced and requires the time I've spent learning him. In this guide, I'm going to pass the knowledge I've gained regarding Singularity to you guys, and hopefully you have it in your heart to show a little love to Larry and potentially give him a try in your games. I'll be breaking this video down to 4 parts. I'll firstly talk to you about some do's and don'ts for their power, as well as basic habits to get into to make sure your games feel more consistent. I will then do a small segment of more complicated techs to do with Larry once you've learned the basics. After this, I'll be going over the add-ons, giving you an idea of what add-ons you should be looking for to use, giving them a summary of what they do. Lastly, I'll be doing a segment called the golden perks. I'll give you basic perks you can use, but there are 2 perks I really recommend using in your builds for Singularity, as I feel they heavily complement your power. Anyways, let's get into a custom game and I'll show you some of the basics. Okay, as you can see right here, what I decided to do is to put them quite high on the ground. And as you can see, I get such a big view. I can see, a bit of that gen. I can see somewhat behind the hill. I can see someone there. This is a very big advantage. If I decide to put this, one moment. If I decide to put it here, as you can see, it doesn't cover nearly as much as the map. So what you want to do is actually put them quite on the high ground. And as you can see, it's pretty good. Now, obviously, some maps you cannot do this. Some very good maps for Singularity are Ironworks of Misery, Coal Tower, Dead Dog Saloon, maps that are quite open and actually have high spots. But there are maps like Midwich, Larry's, Hawkins, where not only does it not have huge amount of high grounds that you can place it to cover a huge amount of area, but there's lots of corners. So that's something to really think of. Feel lucky if you get a map like this. Probably here's better, right? Yeah, I can cover a little bit this gen. I can also cover that gen a little bit. If someone decides to go through here, I can get them. If they're doing a T-wall, maybe if they're going around this way, I can get them. So much opportunities just because I put it a little bit higher. Okay, so in this situation, as you can see, they're hiding EMP. You think, they're super safe. Now, here's the issue with lots of Singularity players. They will avoid chasing these survivors with EMPs. The reason why is because they fear that the EMPs will be too strong. As soon as they buy a pod, they can just EMP, simple as that, and just get rid of it. Not only get rid of it, but they also destroy this. The simple way, and it's quite funny, the easiest counter to this is just simply do that. You know, if they're running, you can, you know, put it there, you know, do it like that. You know, if she decides to run this way, quickly put it there, do it like that. It's very simple, and I know it's very frustrating when survivors use EMPs, but as you can see, no EMPs now. They can't do anything, and I just simply attack them. Simple as that. Okay, so the next thing I advise, this might seem like a minor thing regarding Singularity, however, it's quite a big deal. So what you want to do is, when you place your biopods, let's say hypothetically, and we'll showcase in a bit, when you're chasing a survivor, they might go one direction, they might go this way, blah, blah. And sometimes you decide you place your biopod right in front. However, sometimes there's a big issue regarding this, that lots can actually make or break a chase. And this is where the survivor is very, very close to going around the corner, and you have to try and aim, because if you mess up a tiny bit, they actually end up going around the corner, you don't slipstream them, and it makes the whole process longer. So what you want to do is that, and then it's the opposite direction of where the Feng is running, if that makes sense. So the Feng is running left. When I place the biopod, I want to start turning right. This might seem quite silly and might not seem like too big of a deal. However, lots of people, including myself when I first started playing Singularity, really mess this up. And I place it, and I like actually start to like full on like look for the survivor, instead of, you know, really focusing on the fact that they went left, so I'm gonna have to turn my right. Again, it doesn't seem like a big issue, but you know, lots of Singularity players really struggle with this. Another thing I like to do, and something you need to get into the habit of, otherwise it can also make or break a game, is to just straight up get rid, or annoy me, to straight up get rid of your biopods when you don't need them. Sure, here is nice still, you know, you can still see a general area, blah blah. But let's say hypothetically, you know, I decide to place one here, you know, I end up getting someone's slipstream. But realistically, I'm not going to use this bipod again if I'm like outside of a chase. So what I want to do is get rid of it. It works like Hag, where once you placed all your bipods, it just recycles them and it gets rid of some bipods in order for you to place another one. And this can be really detrimental, because you might have, you know, a really good bipod like this one that you want to keep. But then because you don't have any more biopods left, you decide to place one here for maybe a chase, this one will disappear and survivors will feel less pressured to work on this gen. So make sure that you get into the routine of getting rid of your biopods when you're in a chase and realistically you don't need to use it too much again, and that can actually be very good for your games. Right, for our next little bit, we're going to be talking about when to not use your slipstream, so when to not do this and, you know, teleport. The first situation is in a situation like this. Feng will be running that way, and if I decide to slipstream, I'm just way too close. Like, it would make sense if I was like all the way over here and maybe I want to make some distance, but for the fact that I'm here, maybe I won't make the vault, right? Sure, if I won't make the vault if I decide to just walk normally, but I waste so much time with just doing this and then only teleporting like a few inches and being slowed. So what you want to do is, maybe in this kind of situation, obviously, instead of teleporting too close, you know, maybe place a bipod somewhere, you pressure them in this area, maybe, you know, double back, you know, if they're there, teleport them here. But yeah, that's the first time you don't want to slipstream. The first point is don't do it when you're too close to the survivor. Okay, for the second time you don't want to slipstream, it's when they're about to take us forward. So if you take it away, Fang, if I decide I'm gonna, you know, slipstream here, you know, they're making so much distance and it just does not work at all. Okay, so this is what you actually want to do in this situation, as opposed to actually slipstreaming when they're about to vault or when they're vaulting. What you want to do is you want to wait a little bit And then, as you can see, I've gained lots of distance. They obviously went that way, ran this way, but if they went to the vault, I would have easily been able to hit them. Okay, so the final situation where you don't want to slipstream is when they're using exhaustion perks. This thing right over here has balanced landings, so if you go ahead, if I decide to use it now, as you can see, they're creating so much distance because they're getting that speed. Instead, what you want to do is actually wait for the speed to be over, then slipstream. Obviously that was too close, but you get my point, right? So you also need to keep track of who has what, who has dead hard, who has balance, who has life, who has sprint burst, if they even have exhaustion perks, just so you don't make that mistake, because trust me, slipstreaming into a survivor with a speed boost is not fun. Okay, so we've gone over the basics of Singularity, the things to, get a hang of. But once you've done that, you kind of want to start learning the little more complicated stuff. This one's probably the least complicated out of the ones I'm going to show you. This one's the one where you hide your red stain fault. So if you take it away, what you can do is you do the fault thing, as normal. But you want to fake just like that. As you can see, with my extremely fast fault, I can hide my red stain. Maybe I could showcase it better right now. I can hide my red stain and then quickly turn vault. Usually they would run back, or they would run this way if there's a pallet still, but you're gonna catch a lot of people off guard. Okay, so now we're going into things that are a little more complicated. The first thing you want to focus on is the fact that the biopod, or the little thing on the back, that's where you actually teleport to. So if Feng is facing this way, if Feng is facing towards me, I'll actually teleport behind her. If she's running towards this way, I'll teleport behind her here. So what you kind of want to do is you can try to take advantage of this. So as you can see, this Feng's a little bit confused, and as you can see, just like that, they turned around. They're in the middle of turning around, and what it basically means is, for example, if Feng is facing this way, the biopod will obviously be behind her, and I can actually teleport right here. And while she, obviously she's a bit confused, she's trying to double back and stuff like that, she's in the middle of turning while I'm slow and I still can't attack. So I'm pretty sure if she was to run this way as well, I probably still would have been able to get her. I'm chasing the Fang. This Zarina is body blocking for the Fang, because the Fang is injured. If I start right now, what I can do is I can teleport to the Fang that's in front and actually cut both of them off. So I can go for the Zarina, or I can go for the Fang, depending on, if I really want the Fang or not. But I think going for the Zarina is probably the best idea if I'm not too eager to go for the Fang. Okay, and this is the final tech you can do. This one's very complicated. You can do this with obviously more loops. There's a loop down there which you can do it with. Lots of loops you can do this with that have a wall you can place your biopod on the opposite side of the pallet. So if you showcase it, what I can do is I can do that, fake it, and they panic and fault the pallet, and therefore I down them. So in this situation, you can also do the same. So if you decide to go, there, you can go that way. And they panic because they think that I'm going to teleport to them. They obviously panic because if I were to hypothetically teleport to them, them vaulting the pallet would actually make me stuck on this side, and therefore they can, run to this loop again or whatever. Okay, now that we've gone over that, let's talk about the add-ons. I've made a tier list of what I think are the strongest add-ons, and I'll be going over the ones I advise to look out for when leveling up the Singularity. The best add-on in my opinion is the Denied Requisition Form. This is an iridescent add-on and it does two things. Number 1, it makes everyone at the start of the match temporal slipstreamed. This is an S tier effect on its own. Not having to worry as much about using your biopods to pressure survivors because they're already affected by your power is very strong. Another thing that some players are unaware of is that for every slipstream survivor, your overclock mode lasts 1 second longer. This means that teleporting to survivor with everyone's slipstream will make your overclock mode 8.7 seconds long, which is very powerful. On top of this add-on makes opening EMP supply cases take 30 seconds longer, or if a survivor spends their time printing an EMP manually, it will take 32.5 seconds as opposed to 25 seconds. This add-on gives you immense early game pressure without having to think and should be a priority to buy on the Blood Web. The Soma Family Photo is also an add-on you should start running. This add-on gives you a 5% bonus movement speed when in overclock mode. This is amazing, yet it does have its downside, making the overclock mode duration 20% shorter. On paper, the downside might seem very impactful, but it really takes using this add-on to realize how big the 5% speed bonus is. You can still very easily capture up to survivors on loops, whilst maintaining the overclock mode for a situation where they may have to drop a pallet. And this add-on paired with the Kid's Ball Glove makes this even stronger. The Kid's Ball Glove is a common add-on that simply increases the overclock duration by 15%. So pairing these two add-ons will give you a 5% extra movement speed during overclock mode, but only a 5% shorter duration, which is barely noticeable. I can go on about how good the pairing is, but in all honesty, both these add-ons by themselves are very good and worth getting. This other common add-on is simple but sweet. The Nutritional Slurry is also very good as well, giving you 2 extra biopods to place around the map for a total of 10. I like this add-on because you don't feel as much pressure having to get rid of biopods and gives you opportunities to leave them on loops you're confident you'll go to again, or it can be used to scout more areas of the map. The last 2 add-ons I want to mention are the Diagnostic Tool and the Crew Manifest. Both these add-ons reveal auras of survivors, with this one causing the effect when a survivor gets a temporal slipstream, and the other when they grab an EMP. Aura reveals are amazing on Singularity in and out of Chase, as the killer heavily requires putting pressure on survivors. Also in Chase, you can use the aura reading to teleport to a survivor as soon as they turn a corner. You can also place biopods around corners so slipstream survivors you usually wouldn't know are there, giving you a good start to a chase. You can look into the other add-ons if interested and use my tier list to determine its strength. Lastly, let's talk about perks. As I said, Singularity can really take advantage of aura reading, so you can use aura reading perks to improve your games. My favourite aura perk has to be Lethal, for the same reasons as to why this add-on is super good. Lethal can allow you to slipstream survivors very early, not giving them a chance to collect EMPs, and therefore giving you an incredible start game. Other good info perks include Barbecue and Chili, Floods of Rage, I'm All Ears, etc. Now for the golden perks. These perks I feel heavily complement his power, but one is more complicated than the other. I'll start with the more simple one, this being Save the Best for last. This perk will decrease your attack cooldown by 5% for each hit on a non-obsession, up to a maximum of 40%. So why is this good on Singularity? If you hit a survivor out of overclock, you can teleport to survivor as soon as the speed boost is gone, catching up to recently hit survivors as shown here. As long as you avoid the obsession, you become an absolute monster survivors can't run from. The second perk I recommend on Singularity is a bit more complicated, and this is Coup de Grace. To show you why, I'll need to sketch it out for you. Coup de Grace gives you 2 tokens for every gen that's complete, and you can use tokens to extend your lunge by 70%. I've got here a sketch of a chase between the killer and survivor. Don't worry, these are color coded, and after explaining this fully, I'll give you a small and simple summary at the end. The killer in question is in overclock mode, so survivors have 4 options to choose from. The first thing that they will never do, but I have seen survivors do this, is to try and stun you. Never do this. The killer will go through the pallet like it's nothing and just hit you. Meanwhile, our pallet has been completely wasted. The second thing they may do is pre-drop the pallet. This is a better situation for the survivor as they can reach another loop depending on how close each loop is together. The killer can either go around to focus on catching the survivor or simply destroy the pallet, which they can very easily. They may choose to hold W without even dropping the pallet, which may or may not work, but Coup de Grace will help you reach the survivor before they reach another loop. But what if they stay on that loop? Well, every now and then, a normal lunge is enough to reach a survivor, but if they're just a bit further away, the situation is different. They may be able to loop you for the whole duration of overclock, and the lunge won't be enough to reach them. Well, I think you get where I'm going. Even if they reach the pallet, because you don't get stunned, a lunge into the pallet won't hurt you. Best situation is they drop the pallet and get hit. so you destroy the pallet and hit them within such a short span of time. Another way I like to see this is it almost extends the distance you cover while in overclock mode, and you compare this with other add-ons I talked about earlier to further increase that distance. Please try this out for yourselves if you want to win your games, because it definitely got me hits that wouldn't have been possible otherwise. Let me know if you want me to showcase more of this in another video, and be sure to subscribe if you found this helpful. Check out my other socials linked in the description, and I'll see you guys later.